Hi everybody. I'm Latasha Pauling, Next Level Life Coaching, your one-on-one life coach, tailor-made just for you. Here we are again. We're Friday night. We're going live today, 9 o'clock. So I just want to let you know every Monday and Friday I'm doing a live show. And this is me sowing into my ministry and what God gave me to do. I just want to tell you just to check out my page, my YouTube page, and like any videos and subscribe to my YouTube page. So here we are again, we're live. I just want to say that first of all, I'm going to deal with a type of mental health again. Because ladies, it's very important to get ourselves healthy mentally in order to get in the position that God wants us to be in. Because this is about building his kingdom on this earth, not our own kingdom. Remember, this plan that we're on, this way that we're taking is bigger than us. So tonight we're talking about loss. And loss can be so many things. So let me start with saying that I don't really believe that in the beginning God intended for us to suffer loss and death, that is. But because of the Garden of Eden and the separation and the things that happened there, man then fell and loss took place, basically separation permanently until, we do have the everlasting life in God. But there is death on this earth and people do pass away. So we have to learn how to deal with loss. So first of all, I want to talk about loss in a relationship. Okay? So this could be separation or divorce or just a really hard breakup between a man and a woman, a loss of a friend, that didn't die, but the relationship is over. And some of these losses may not be permanent, just depending on what happens in life. So let's start with talking about a relationship loss. Say you've gotten a divorce and you're no longer married. That is such a big loss. That is a loss of the biggest proportion I can even think of, basically on this earth when death doesn't occur. Because this is someone that you said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to be with you. I want to grow old with you, through sickness and health, forsaking all others. I have a friend, and I always call her and her husband my ride. They're my ride or die couple. So basically, that was your ride or die person. Someone that had your back no matter what, someone you trusted and loved. That's who your mate should be. Someone that, forsaking all others, you chose to be with them. So when a relationship like that does not work out, how do you get over something like that? How do you move on? Let me tell you, I know it's very, very hard because of your mental state. Because if you went into the marriage with the right, thoughts and the right, mental capacity, you did think it was forever. And so when it's not forever, what do you do? That is a great loss. And I want to express to everyone, don't be afraid to go through all the things, all the different emotional things in order to get where you need to go. Because it's okay to grieve. And what you do with that grief, you have a mourning process. Mourning is just a process, something you're going through. But process means, a continual thing, daily thing. Don't stunt your process. Just allow yourself to grieve. If you want to cry, cry. Whatever you need to do to get through the process, because not only are you mourning that person, you're mourning everything that didn't happen. Say you didn't have kids, you're mourning that loss. Say, you didn't, buy that house you dreamed of, or whatever hopes and dreams you have for that relationship is no longer there. And so it's just not that person, it's everything that encompassed that came with that person. You thought that you were safe and you didn't have to look anymore, And that was stress-free, because I don't know how many times I've talked to single people, and just looking for someone is just so stressful. So you thought you found that person, right? And it just didn't work out, and you missed that constant companionship, that daily companionship, that safety in them, that safety that you knew that if you needed someone, that they would be there, that safety, and you always had someone to do something with, or whatever that relationship, whatever the comfort that relationship brought, it is no longer there. So what I suggest, when you separate and you leave, there's a reason why that didn't work out. That's a reason why there was a division there, a divide, and now you're separated. And separation can hurt extremely bad. But you need to sit down and figure out what's going on in you, what part of this relationship breaking up was on your part. Let's not sit down and think about all that he did wrong, all that he didn't do, should have did, and why didn't he do it. It's not time to make a list of all the things that you feel like he failed at. It's time to sit down and figure out all the things that you should have done, all the things that you couldn't do because of different things. It's time to look within yourself and see and own up to your part. Because the first thing you do is you become aware of the different things that broke down within yourself to break down the whole relationship. Because it's individual people coming together, and we have individual breakdowns that come together and then may break down the whole situation. It's rare that it's one-sided. It's very rare that it's a one-side deal, and he's the only reason that you're not with him is because he did A, B, C, D. That's very rare. I'm sure that there's some things within that relationship that you failed to do or that you needed to do. So you have to take responsibility. Once you take responsibility and you figure out some things that you are lacking and some things that you need to take care of, then you need to kind of, after you do your self-evaluation, you need to kind of make a plan. And that's one of the things I do in life coaching. I make a plan with my clients, and it's life goals, and you always start with the end in mind. Okay, say you were in a relationship and you found yourself to be selfish, and so your end result and your goal is to not be selfish anymore. So in order to not be selfish anymore, you have to start being more giving. You have to find ways to give to people and give where you're not feeling like there's any lack. You know what I'm saying? Like you feel like, oh, no. You have to give with a giving spirit, an open spirit, and not feel like that you gave and that you really didn't want to. And after you give, you have such a bad feeling in your stomach. And I don't know about you, but I've been there. I'm personally not a selfish person where I'm just giving, things, or sometimes I'll give my time selfishly, but I'm not like a gift giver. I'm not by any means. So choose things that normally you wouldn't be able to give, and just start giving freely, and give because with the ending in mind that that you don't want to be selfish anymore. And that's how you build relationships with people in love, and become a better you, or I don't even like saying a better you. Become the person that God's made you to be. And selfish is not a good thing. So what you want to do is you want to make a plan and understand why you are selfish. Because there's many different reasons why we can be selfish. And I'm not saying give yourself excuses, but reasons are things that they show the root to things and why you are the way you are. So once you find out that root, then you can kind of find out, where you went wrong in the past, so then you can correct it in the future. That is very doable, to find out where you went wrong and correct it and to become a better person. So then when you do become in another relationship, selfishness is not an issue because you learn to give, you learn to express yourself in love. That's a way that you can show people that you love them, is by giving and not always expecting someone to do something for you, but to be a natural giver, you know. So, you know, that just takes, you know, it takes a lot of praying and pulling things out of you and learning where you truly are, you know. And so once you learn where you are, you can find out how you need to get there, you know, what way you need to take to get there. And so say you found, okay, so you have found that you are selfish. And then another thing, maybe you have found that you are always finding fault in others. Maybe you're always, you have a spirit of correction. Can I use that? You're always nagging and finding out what's wrong with the other person. And that didn't go well in your marriage. You're always, you know, criticizing him and telling him what he wasn't doing. And maybe you underline that as, hey, I'm doing that because I'm trying to better him. But no, maybe you were doing that because you did not believe in him. I don't know. It could be many things, but I'm just trying to say that you just need to pull out some things within yourself that didn't go well in the relationship and try to correct those things. You know, you have to love yourself enough to correct yourself. So because you have that loss, it's not about dwelling on all that he did wrong. It's dwelling on what you did wrong. Because with loss, you can learn. There's a great learning curve with a loss because you learn what didn't work. And you know that you've lost something that you love. But you don't have to lose one thing in particular. You don't have to lose yourself. You can regather yourself. And you can see things that you couldn't see in that relationship. And you can do it in order to preserve future relationships. You understand? Because future relationships, they really hinge on what you want to do today. How you want to correct today. How you want to learn how to treat people today. So then tomorrow you can be better in that relationship, in that new relationship. But if you don't feel that loss and know that loss and own that loss, you, in going forward, will never be as healthy as you can be in the next relationship. So when you have that loss of someone, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to mourn. It's okay. But in that time, use that time of a time of reflection. Not so much as a time of tragic and pain and, you know, all that. And I'm not saying that, you know, it's not, because I'm sure it is. Because especially if, say, you're in a relationship and you get divorced and you have children, and you have to really, that's really different. Coming from married to single, and I'm sure you have to, you know, change a lot of things around in your life. And it's just, you know, that's not what you started out as, you know. But with all that being said, that is still some self-discovery and all that, even as a parent. So what I'm trying to tell you is, even though it is a time of pain, when pain comes, you can really learn a lot about yourself. And when you are dealing with things in life, everything is a learning curve. Everything is a time to embrace things and really truly figure out what God meant for you and to be in God's will. Because when you do lose somebody, there is a lot of things to consider. You know, are you really, you know, ready to walk away? When you do walk away, you may not truly understand what you're getting into when you do walk away, or when that person decides to walk away. So you just have to accept it. You know, you have to accept it first, and you have to examine, you know, all the other things that is within the relationship. And another thing I want to talk about is the loss of a loved one when they pass away. And it was really funny, because, not funny, but it was interesting when I decided to do this subject, as before I've seen loss around me, but recently, I know someone that, has experienced loss, and it's very different when you experience it and you just wake up one day and they're there, the next day they're not there. And what do you do with that? Because you can have so many thoughts. There's a lot of regret sometimes. There's a lot of guilt sometimes because of what happened when the person was here. Because if you don't know that someone's going to pass away, you're not prepared, and you maybe haven't been able to talk to them and tell them things that you want them to know. So it's so much, because if you have not been on good terms with them, that brings about guilt sometimes, because you haven't made peace with them. You haven't told them how you truly feel, you know. So when you go through something like that, you really, number one, have to forgive yourself, because you should have, could have, but you didn't. And you really have to learn from that. And what you can learn from that one is all the people around you, whether you have aught with somebody or even your loved ones, you have to really say what's on your mind. So if anything like that happens, you're semi-prepared for that, because like recently I had a friend that was going through a lot, and she had to go in and have a procedure done, and they didn't know, how she was going to fare, if she was going to be here or not. Anytime you have surgery, there is a possibility. So I remember going through that with her and waking up on the morning of the surgery and kind of texting her some thoughts and saying something to her. But it made me feel good knowing that I didn't have much to text, because she already knew. She already knew how I felt, how I loved her, and what she meant to me in my life, because that's what I try to do as I go through life. I try to let people know that means something to me, how I feel. So especially if you're on good terms, I don't see why you couldn't just be open and let them know. But then there's another situation when you're not on good terms. And that's one of the reasons, you shouldn't let the sun go down on your wrath, like God says. But say if you do, we do have issues and we do the wrong things. So that's when forgiveness comes into play. Because when that kind of situation happens and you don't get a chance to make peace with them, you really have to kind of make peace with yourself. You're no longer here. So there's nothing you possibly can do but learn from that. Like I said, loss is learning. There's a lot of things you can learn from loss. So you just need to learn that you really need to squash things while someone's on this earth, because separation does happen and we don't even know. We are not promised tomorrow. Because we're not promised tomorrow, we really need to get things in order as much as possible. And when you don't do that, there's a lot of guilt, but you can't let the guilt eat you away. Because once it does, it's just the work of the enemy. It didn't work in your life, and it affects different areas of your life. So you just can't allow that to be. So forgive yourself. Forgive yourself and take the weight off and talk about it. Repent to God. Talk to a loved one. Being silent about things you're feeling is never a good, good opportunity to heal. It's not. A good opportunity to heal is to talk about it, reveal it, so it can be healed. But loss can be very paralyzing. I know that. So sometimes you don't feel like you can move and operate like you used to. It's like the wind's been knocked out of you. And it's like you have a void within you, a peace that is gone, that is no longer being able to be filled because of that loss. And I know that does happen. So when that does happen, you have to really say, okay, this void is here. I'm not going to let this take me down. I'm not going to let this overcome, you know? So how do I find myself within this loss? There is a void, okay, an empty space, you know? So that empty space is the space that person used to exist in. That relationship with that person, you know? That's what that empty space is. You were one thing to them. You were maybe their sister, their best friend, their wife. So what you were to them no longer exists anymore, if that makes sense, because they're gone. So that leaves you here, and you don't know what to do with that void and that empty space and that loss. So that relationship and that person, lose that person, but you lose what you had with what you used to do with them, what you intended to do with them in the future. I talked about, you know, future dreams, you know, and what that person was for you, you're still looking for it. You still need it because that person was in your life for a reason. So number one, you do have to accept that that person's gone. So do whatever you have to do to accept it. Because until you accept it, you cannot start the process of mourning until you accept it. Because if you don't accept it, you will stay right there in that painful state, that beginning, that grief, that first grief. If you allow yourself just to let it out, it's going to be the hardest time in the beginning. So if you, in the beginning, just allow it to come out, that's the most natural thing. That's the most natural thing to do, just to let it out. You don't have to lie to yourself and say, you're fine, you're okay. It's okay to not be fine and okay, you know, but to allow yourself to go through the process of grieving, to be angry that they're gone and that you can no longer spend time with them. It's okay to be sad that they're gone. It's okay. You know, you don't have to be strong. You can be weak because God says through your weakness, you are made strong with Him. He's building you up through your weakness. If you allow yourself to be weak, He's there to hold you and to keep you and to protect you during that time. And He will send people your way that you can be weak with, you can be vulnerable with, and you don't have to worry about anything. So, number one, you have to accept that they're gone, and so then you have to start the mourning process. Your grief must take you to mourning. That's very important. Your grief must take you to mourning, and mourning is just basically the process, like I said before. So, which is the process of working through your pain. So, grief is the process of you working through that pain you have. So, you have to, step two, you have to allow all the emotions to exist within you. All the emotions that come up, you have to allow it to be there. Don't shove it away. Don't push it away. Don't suppress it down, because at the most inopportune time, at the most horrible time, it's going to come up and it's going to be devastating. That's why I say just allow the pain to come and let it, you know, do what it's going to do. Because what happens is when you start having the pain, you start crying and you start going through all your emotions of guilt and anger, it actually lifts some things off of you. Did you know that? See, what you think is these things boggle you down, but no, if you do it in a healthy way, what it really does is it releases something in you, because it's weighing you down, it's in you and it's weighing you down. So once you start going through things, you start shedding all the layers, and layers start coming off, and then you start being lighter. So if you just allow yourself just to be lighter, but I know you don't think you're going to be lighter, but that's what happens. You know, you just become lighter because of the things that you are allowing yourself to work through. So this process of mourning is not for your detriment. It's there to help you. It's there to get you through it. It's there to give you the natural process in order to overcome loss and pain, you know. So you have to keep going forward in all your emotions. Don't suppress them, you know. Don't medicate yourself with drugs and alcohol because that's only going to keep you numb for a time. It's only it's not a permanent fix. It's a temporary fix. And if you medicate yourself with these things and you don't allow yourself to go through anything, all you're doing is delaying the inevitable because one day you're going to have to deal with it. So if you do decide to drink or take something or whatever to deal with it, I'm just going to say that it's still going to be there underneath whatever you're taking or whatever you're drinking. When you're not high anymore, not drunk anymore, the problems, that loss is still there with you. So why not just allow yourself to go through the pain? Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it because it's natural. And just work through it because you know you're not going to break. You're going to be just fine because you have God, and God has given you people that love you, that will be there for you. So don't medicate yourself, because if you decide to do that, and you know, first you were a social drinker and then you're drinking even more, and when you're taking something and then you are dependent on it, it's going to make your life even worse. So on top of the loss, you're going to have dependency, you know. So it's just putting one problem on top of another problem. And then once you go through things with dependency, then you're going to have to reach the root of the problem, why you became dependent, which is your loss. So doing that kind of stuff is not going to do anything but give you more problems on top of your problem. So all these things you do will just delay, you know, delay things. So if you suppress the pain, if you suppress it, one day you're going to hit that point. And it's going to be your point where you feel like this is your breaking point, where you just like, you're already broken in so many pieces. If you break into one more piece, you don't know what you're going to do. So that's what loss can do. It can put so much pressure on you that you can't see your way through or see your way out. And a lot of things become as an example. That's why I'm telling you the answer to loss is to work through your mourning, work your process daily, and don't allow things to overtake you. It's so important to talk about how you're feeling and not to bottle everything inside and think that you can overcome alone. Take someone's hand and allow them to help you through. And every day, get up. Get up. If you get up and you cry, oh well. If you get up and you gotta sit for a minute, oh well. But you're gonna get up. You're gonna stand. You're gonna walk. You're gonna go forward. And I'm just talking about not just naturally, but I'm talking about spiritually. You're gonna keep going forward, and you're gonna get stronger. And the longer the process, that means that you get further away from, you know, the time period, but it does not have anything to do with the time period of grief, because it's not about a time, it's about what you do during that time. So if you're doing things every day during that time to overcome your grief, and you find out that void in you and what to do with that void, because like I said, this is a learning process. So you can learn. And sometimes when you are going through loss, like say it's a loss of, you know, your child, that is so hard. And you no longer have those dreams that you used to have. You can't see them graduating, you know, having their first child, maybe getting married and things like that. You can help others that have been through the same thing you've been through. There's so many ways to fulfill that void that's been left from that relationship. It's just up to you to find out. It's just a very quick video I wanted to do. I didn't really have many notes. I didn't really know why I was led to encourage or talk about them. But I did want to say, don't let anything stand in your way of what God has for you. Even lost, don't let it stand in your way. Stand up and fight and know that God's right there with you. And He's put people all around you and position you to be in this fight. Because even with loss, you can make true destiny. You can make a true calling out of it, because you can use loss in order to catapult you to the next level in your life so you can be stronger. Okay, so I just thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys on Monday live, and have a good night. Thank you.